All right, good afternoon, all my friends and family here on board the Malt Shop Memories Cruise. I'm your cruise host, Jason, and thank you for joining us for another edition of All Access Pass. As I just mentioned in the pre-show, I'm sitting with an absolute legend, as loud as we possibly can here in the room. Help me thank this man right here, Little Anthony.
I love how you talk. You talk so good.
Don't you start with me. I am blessed, and I understand how blessed I am for having to have known this man for quite a few years now, and we've done a few of these interviews, so we'll try to stay on track if we can.
We'll try.
Before we talk about anything else, I want to say thank you very much for being a part of the Jerry Blavat tribute this morning.
Yeah.
Your stories and contributions are fantastic.
A bunch of us up there could have been up there for the next 2 or 3 hours.
Absolutely.
Because he was such an interesting personality that doesn't come along in this world, but every 100 years or so. And though, even in the business, Jason, I mean, really the people in the business, some of the biggest stars in the world, I've been blessed to have met, and it'll always be Jerry, something about Jerry. And I wasn't really sure what it was because it was something about the man. When I first met him, we were both teenagers, both young. And he was working for Sammy Davis. He was doing this thing with Sammy. And I don't know what he was doing, it was a runner or something. And he was always talking, man. His mouth was going, who is this dude? And then, you know, life goes on. Next thing I know, he's in Philadelphia doing radio and very successful. And then we just stayed friends. He didn't have to go through my agent. He didn't do none of that stuff. He just called me. Hey, Anthony. That's what he called me, Anthony.
Anthony, yeah.
Anthony, you know, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And, oh, Bobby's going to be there, you know, and I'm going to do that. And that's how he was. Okay, man, I don't know. We used to actually do Zooms to do Zoom. I thought you're supposed to do that as like a business meeting.
You were doing it for
giggles.
He
said, I'm gonna be in Florida, man. And I thought it was going to be something like, you know, he would be around all these controls and then to be backstage somewhere all set up with the props and the things, and I'll be going, oh yeah, well, this is great. And he had in his place his own world with all these. He had little tapes and old things and record players and all he did was just call me and I said, "Is this an interview? What is this?" And he said, "Oh no, man. Hey, listen, I'm gonna have this going. I'm gonna do this and do that." He was constantly creating. Very creative human
There was
being.
always something coming down the pipe for
always
him. There was
coming down
always
the
something
pipe.
coming.
Yeah, and I'm going, okay. And I sat there and we had a wonderful time, which should have been maybe 30 minutes. It ended up being about an hour and a half. And he actually did tape it so that he can use it.
Of course he did.
He didn't waste nothing.
He's
man.
wasting none of your
Nah.
Well, before we jump in to audience questions, I do want to start with some real basics because we are, for the first time in a long time, Malt Shop Memories has a lot of newer cruisers, a lot of folks who haven't been with us in the past. So where we have some folks in the room that have gotten to know you so very well over the years, certainly with us and your history with him.
Yeah.
We do have some folks that are newer to the cruise, so let's start with some real basics. Let's go back to when you're just a young man. You're just a whippersnapper. Just a young whippersnapper. And you are part of the DuPonts first, is that correct?
Horrible group.
The DuPonts, right?
You did your homework.
Yes,
you
sir.
Sure did. Yeah, DuPont. It was a bunch of kids in Brooklyn.
Hey.
Yeah. And we lived in Fort Greene Projects, if anybody knows, off Flatbush and Myrtle Avenue down there. A minute or two from Juniors and all of that, and Williamsburg Bank and all that. And Dime Saving Bank, whatever happened to that place, anyway. And we just were kids, and when I went to school, boys high school, we went to, I think the first year you went to the annex, they called it. And I didn't know what was going on. And I met this kid, his name was William Delk. And there was another guy by the name of Doc. there was another guy that I met, but he was playing baseball. His name was Tommy Davis.
Hmm.
We used to sing, all that stuff. And Connie Hawkins was just really, really.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
these are the kind of people who was in that school. Unbelievable school. I'm very, very happy that my dad made the decision to put me in there, even though my mom wanted me to be in the musical art school, you know, or Juilliard or something like that. But my dad, in a way, they were both right. I mean, I would have probably learned how to play an instrument.
Sure.
Learned how to accompany myself. Probably would have wrote a lot more songs and made $1 billion like Smokey Robinson. I didn't think that way, you know, the kid out of Brooklyn.
Sure.
But my father just said, no, yeah, we want somebody with education. You go to college, no one knows how we're going to get there. And but by going to boys' high school, something very special happened there. I didn't know the tradition and what it meant to be in a school like that with all these boys. First of all, that didn't intrigue me because there were no girls. It was all guys.
Deciding factor.
Not a very thing to think about, but you know what? Wouldn't give it up. If I had to do it, I'd go to that school again, because what happens, the camaraderie and the friendships, even to this day, I have friends. I actually took my wife to the school. We were doing a thing for PBS, and we went out there in Bed-Stuy, and she saw the school. And when I got to the school, and I remember the doors, when I'd come out and everything, all these wonderful memories came back to me. I became very tearful. But you know, I'm going. That's the street I used to go down. I used to come. That's how I snuck out of the back of the school, and that's how I did. You know, all these things.
Sure.
But we couldn't go in because I wanted to go in, and all these wonderful names that I remembered. My gym teacher, Dr. Molly, and all these names started coming back. And there was one fella. He used to tell me, he was the English teacher. Let's put it this way: in math, I'm pretty bad, y'all. I can't count with a darn. I got my own system I created. I come to the same conclusion. It just takes me a little bit longer, you know. But
Fingers and toes. Yeah,
no,
it's fine.
It works. But English and history and geography, for some reason, was something I took to like that. And I remember oh man, I can't, my brain went into neutral, you know, when you get older.
They're your high school teachers. We forgive you.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much. And it'll probably, Mr. Greenberg. Oh. See? Came back. See? They've got a little something going on.
Can't count to 7, but he'll remember Mr. Greenberg
I can't remember
as long
7.
as he needs to.
Too hard. And Mr. Greenberg was the one who was very encouraging. He says, you know, I heard you singing. And those, I don't know if you guys remembered when we'd have lunch, and they used to have, what do you do with kids for an hour and something, you know, antsy. And at least at Boys High School, a lot of these little groups, local groups, we used to sing a cappella at lunchtime, and the teachers loved it. First of all, it kept everybody calm. Nobody was running around doing something weird, because everybody was listening to the different groups. And it almost came down to a thing that was called the Battle of the Singing Groups.
Ah, yes.
You remember that? And that we would do that, and Mr. Greenberg would be there. Sometime he was monitoring it or something. He says, man, you can really sing. Someday, kid, you're going to be a man from Mars with a big cigar. I wish I could never figure out what that meant. But I remember just now. And he would always say that. And fast forward, actually, I was at the Copacabana. Here I am now, a star, so quote unquote a star, whatever that is. And I hear in the back of the audience, the man from Mars smokes big cigars. I told you.
What a great story. What a great full circle moment for you there, too.
You can't, in this life that I found, ladies and gentlemen, is not a journey that you do by yourself, and those who try will find themselves in a very lonely place and not very productive. At the least, very miserable. People are the key. It's how God created us and He designed us. We need each other desperately. We can't. We need each other, because these people, like as quickly as Mr. Greenberg came, there's Mrs. Mannix came into my mind, and this one, and that one, and this one, and all these wonderful people who gave that little nudge to keep me on the right track. because I wasn't going to be a brain surgeon, man. I was hanging out with them who lived in Brooklyn, man, and gangs. Wasn't good, you know, because a lot of my guys didn't make it. And so having those kind of people in your life, Jason, are so very important. Because they may not even know in their own selves that they're telling you these things, but they're guiding you by the Spirit in them, which I call the Spirit of God in them. And I had other people who was just the opposite. And we know what spirit they had. They were trying to get me to go the other way. And I say this with all sincerity to you people, as I don't know, we all don't know, like we all know, we're not all guaranteed tomorrow.
Yeah.
But any moment I get in this world to talk and speak about things beyond, as we know as little Anthony, there's more to it. We talked about in the room. There's two people. Who I really am is Jerome. My first name is Jerome Anthony Gordine. Anthony is just my stage name, Little Anthony, which was given to me by Alan Freed, and started that whole thing. But who I am is Jerome Anthony Gordine, has many different interests and many things he enjoys. Like there were two people in this business. We were both great opera. We love opera, and that was Aretha Franklin and myself. And we do all of them, you know, Verdi, Puccini, blah blah blah, the bing, blah bang.
The thing.
Oh, you know, and so
the boop and the bop.
You get an opportunity to tell people and be able to speak to them that there are far more to artists than you may expect. Sometimes we tend to say, oh, they sang this song, and that's what we love about them, but that's not who they are. That's the song they sung. And they happen to be people who have the ability to interpret music, and it comes out right. But they are just like everybody else. They get up in the morning, they put their socks on, and the right, the left, their pants, and whatever, and do the things we all do. And so, any opportunity that I get to say that for a minute, you know,
absolutely,
I take really. It's very important to me to share that.
You became a star at 17 years old. I mean, roughly speaking, right? That's when you first kind of exploded onto the scene. At what point in your career did you identify how important it was to have a difference between Little Anthony and Jerome?
I was about 34.
Well, I know Frankie Lyman had a great impact on you in losing.
That was my best friend. We were kids together, how we met and all that. But
I mean, losing him influenced in terms of your.
Yes, it did, because it could have been me.
Yeah.
By the grace of God, it could have been any one of us. Boy, he had talent to make everybody else look silly. In fact, I talked to Sammy Davis about it, and he said Sammy did everything he could to help Frankie Lyman, because he was one of those unique performers and stuff. Don't let me start talking. I'll get off with the question you were asking me about. What did you say?
I gave up on that right when I asked the first question. And I recognized how this is going to go right off the bat. And you know what? They're here to hear you, not me. So please.
No, it's cool, you know. But at that age, I believe a lot of times when I'm on stage, I'll say that, and I'm sincere what I do. I said, ladies and gentlemen, I was never the most handsomest man and a young fella. I was not endowed with certain features of my body and my face that was very attractive to all the young ladies and women. But the one thing I found out, though, when I sang, it came. So in the beginning, all I wanted to do, that's all it was. I mean, I wanted to make money like any other kid, you know, because at Fort Greene, I got no money. And now all of a sudden, I got money. A little money they let me have in those days. And I was able to do things I couldn't do. So I didn't think, as I matured and grew in this business, that's what I was going to do. Even though I was singing and everything, and it was fun, and I liked it, and it became a very natural thing for me to do, I didn't think of it as, oh boy, this is going to be my career.
Sure.
This is what I got to do. No.
It's tough to see the future at that point.
At that point, I don't think nobody that age can see nothing.
Yeah.
We got a lot of them running around the street today. If you look at the news these days, they don't know nothing. They think they do. They don't know nothing. you know.
Nothing.
So you get to that point. So I didn't think about all that stuff. Actually, it wasn't until I was like 32 when I had a bit of anxiety bout, and I was like everybody else, drugs and rock and roll and the whole bit, and I got a little bit confused. But in that growth and coming out of that, I began to realize that life was much more important than just girls. Girls are good. Girls are good. But I started seeing things around that time, and I was a young father too. You know, I have to tell you, folks, I do this on stage, so I'm going to let you hear this again. I hope I don't repeat myself out there. But, I mean, I got 9 kids. I got, what I got?
15.
15.
Yeah.
15 grandchildren, 12 great-grandchildren. Just the other day, a month ago, my great-great-granddaughter, Anastasia Rose, was born. So I get to see 4 generations. That's a blessing from God. That
Not a
ain't,
lot of people
ain't
get
natural.
that. Not a lot of people get that.
Yeah.
What do they call you?
They call me a lot of things.
What do they call you to your face?
They usually call me Poppy.
Poppy. You're a Poppy.
I'm Poppy. I am the Poppy.
You're Poppy.
That's what they all know me by. Every day, just pass on to little ones. That's Poppy. Tony, they call me sometime. And we're made up of all kinds of ethnic groups, man. It's unbelievable. We got a little Japanese baby in there. And it's just really weird when we go out. There's people. It's really. But you know, I was a guy. My mom was a gospel singer. My dad was a musician for many years, and my mother was a faith woman, and so I just, made me read. In those days, you had to go to church. When I went to church in the Baptist church, man, it was like 9 in the morning till 9 at night. It was rough, but you got what you were supposed to get in you. And I remember, so I would tell people, but they look at me, oh my goodness, you have that many children and grandchildren. Says, well, I was reading the Bible one time, and I took what it said in the Bible literally. It said to go forth and multiply and be fruitful. I did. Just being obedient. You know how I got there. Anyway.
It's fine. One of the things that we do whenever we come in here, and I'm going to sprinkle these in, is we allow the audience to ask questions. And I've learned my lesson about opening the microphone up to a live crowd, because we've all seen that go sideways.
Oh, boy.
So what happens is my lovely wife, Brittany, who you know well, comes in earlier, and she allows everybody to ask questions. By the way, that's going forward, whether you're watching on TV or here live. If you ever have a question for one of our stars, come in about 15, 20 minutes early, and my wife will be in here with question cards. You can fill them out if you have a question for whichever star I have up here. So I'll start sprinkling these in here, good sir.
Yes, sir.
Ed Roth comes to us from Florida.
From good place. I live in Florida.
He says, can you please tell the story that I heard you tell on Sirius about how you were told to separate the words in Tears on My Pillow? You don't remember
each
me.
syllable. Each syllable. Yeah, that was Mr. George Goldner. You notice I always say Mr. this or Mr. that? Well, that's the generation I came out of.
Me too.
Still sticks with you. And they were Mr. this and that. And Mr. George Goldner was the president of N and Gorn Records, and his A&R man was Richard Barrett. And Richard Barrett was the one that discovered all these wonderful people like Frankie Lyman, the Teenagers, the Chantels, the Dubs, the Isley Brothers, and on and on and on. And so, being with Mr. Golden was quite an experience, because we call him last of the record men. They knew what they were doing. These guys, a lot of these guys, they were really in the business. A lot of them were in the garment business, man. And a lot were very Jewish cats.
Sure.
They saw something, but he knew music, like Clive Davis today. Very good man. They can hear that music. And so I remember we were in the doing Tears on My Pillow. Because in one of the songs we did was what Ernest was singing that he wrote to, was called Cha Cha Henry. And it wasn't coming off too good. And I remember Mr. Golden was looking through the booth, and then they said, wait a minute, hold up. you guys all the musicians, you go to lunch, and he came to me and he says, Anthony, who's your favorite singer? I said, well, Ella Fitzgerald, Nat King Cole, Frank Sinatra. I'm like, that's the era I came up in. And I said, Frankie Lyman, I did. I said, he really impressed me because he was like me, Mm-hmm. And he said, well, you know how Nat King Cole sings, and he takes these syllables with these words, and he's well known by how he expresses the words in the song, and how Sinatra does that as well. And he said, you have a very high voice. When you talk natural tenor. But you always try to sing like I'm going to be a man. Sound like a man.
Get it low.
Yeah. And he said, I want you to take these syllables and break each word up. And I'm starting to say, well, what's a syllable? And he told me, he says, Nat King Cole says, they tried to tell us we're too young. Everything was. And he says, so when you get on the first part, you go like, you don't remember me. I was going, you don't remember me. But I'm trying to sing like Bo Diddley or somebody. And he said, no, I want you to sing like you talk.
And that was it.
Let it come out that way. And when you say the words, take each word, think about what you're trying to say in each syllable. And I said, what is that? He said, well, you don't. Just don't say you don't. Think about it. You don't. Frank Sinatra always said this. He said, always cross your T's. What he meant was little simple things.
It's not you don't.
You don't. It's you don't. And he broke it up and he started, and I got it. I figured it out, okay? Mm-hmm. So what came out was, hope I can do this kind of early, folks. I'm a saloon singer. I'm smoking stuff. You don't remember me, but I remember you. Simple little thing like that. Well, when I did that, I thought, well, man, all my friends, I'm not sounding too R&B like that, man. They're going to be laughing at me, man, But that's what he wanted. And when he went back in and I did it, I don't know, maybe the 5th or 6th take on there. And I did it, and it was, you don't, and there it was.
Yeah.
That is the man that created the sound that I sing and use today.
Great story. Great story. Kevin comes to us from St. Louis, and I think you kind of answered a little bit of this already. Which artists were most influential in your early years, and did you ever get to meet and or work with them? Thank you so much for coming on this cruise.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me on this cruise. This cruise, I need it. You folks see me riding around my little scooter? I ain't ashamed. Y'all walk around and be tired and beat up. Not me. I'm done with that.
He doesn't need the scooter. He's just preserving.
He sees me walking around. It's easy. So, and then plus I had some issues, back and the knee, and then I'm like going to the airport and going off and bells and things. Got metal. And so these things catch up as we get older with us, And I'm starting to say, oh, gee. Yeah, but I'm off the ship, and I'm still walking around saying, why do I feel like I'm on the ship? Getting older, things get a little bit, they don't get as... So I had to deal with all this. And ego was getting in me, Oh, no, you're a little Anthony, the bit, you have your energy, and people want to see all that. That's nice, it's fun and all that.
That's nice.
But I had to make some adjustments. So that's what I do. So if you see me running around, be careful, please. I don't have a license for that. Or anybody.
I saw you run right up some poor lady's legs the other day.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And didn't I say to her, I was sorry?
You did.
Yes, I
And
did.
you enunciated very clearly when you said
Didn't
it.
I said, I am sorry.
You hit every syllable. Yeah. No slurring. Just right down.
I did it like that.
Back to the question we asked.
Yes. What was that? It was something like
We have a few questions, and I apologize for all of you that wrote questions down. As you can see,
doesn't-
it's I love the man, but it's not exactly a straight arrow.
It doesn't go that way. I'm sorry.
It never has, for the record. Kevin from St. Louis, once again, what do you know? Which artists were most influential to you early And did you ever get to meet and work with him?
That's what you said. That's right. Yes, I got to work with some of the best in the business, and one was Sammy Davis Jr., who befriended me. I didn't befriend him. His wife that he married after my Brit, he was under a lot of pressure about that, obviously. And so he married this young lady. Her name was Joni Gore, but everybody knew her in the business as Altaviz. Well, we came up together as kids, and she used to go to dance classes all the time, and we would come down the street, and she'd come from a dance class, and she'd walk with her feet, you know.
Feet turned out?
Turned out.
The duck walk.
And then we would go, she's a fancy dancer. Oh. And so, and her mother and my mother were very close, and I knew her, and it was through her that she had mentioned it to him, and one thing led to another, and it was a comedian who used to be known as Johnny Brown. Knew Johnny a long time in the Catskills, and we used to work the Catskills. And he was working, doing a play. He came and told me, he said, I'm in this play, man, and it's on Broadway. I said, what's it called? Golden Boy. And obviously, Sammy Davis is a star. He said, you want to come, man? Does a hog want slop? Yes. So I would like to come. And I went backstage, and that's when I saw Joni, and I grabbed her and hugged her. And Sammy looked and said, is everybody you know was from Harlem? And I said to him, I said, I ain't from no Harlem. I'm from Brooklyn, dude. How do you do that with Sammy Davis? He laughed and had him. I said, ooh, he likes me.
Yeah.
But that's how that happened. But her name was Johnny Gore. And so he was one of those people. Also with Ella Fitzgerald, I got to meet.
Oh.
I never met Nat Cole, but Natalie I knew very, very well, and her other sister. And, oh, gosh, there's so many that I met. Billy Eckstein. Because my dad played alto and tenor sax for the big bands of the era. Back in the 30s and 40s, he played alto and tenor, and he was with the Buddy Johnson Orchestra. Eddie Johnson Orchestra at that time was one of the big ones. And he played with them. So I get to meet all these people. He used to take me to a place in, it wasn't in the Bronx, it was New York City somewhere, way up by the what river's that there? Not the Hudson River, yeah. That one Bronx, that one. And, and they used to have a ballroom that was called Savoy, the famous Savoy. And my dad used to drag me along, you know. And I met this guy, and I looked at him, and he was real nice. He said, hello, young man. And that was Duke Ellington. And from that point on, I got to know Mr. Ellington all the way up till the day he passed on. And he was quite an elegant man. He was everything but very elegant. And I probably, ladies and gentlemen, I would bore you and would take too much of your time and mine. But there were so many of them that I met in this business that were like movie stars and all kinds of people.
You know, I think these questions are fantastic because it's kind of like happy hour. You ask one and get one for free is really what's happening here. Gail wants to know, oh, this is interesting. This is actually right up your alley as you're being very reflective. Gail says, what do you most regret in your professional life?
That I lived a riotous life.
When you were younger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else, I don't regret anything. But someone, Dean Martin said, he said, if I knew I was going to live this long, I would take better care of myself.
Yeah.
So it's like that part. You know, I think we all kind of do that.
Yeah, that's fair.
But other than that, no, I wouldn't.
You don't
I wouldn't change it, no.
I like it. Sylvan, forgive me, I think that's correct, from Philadelphia. What became of the Imperials, and when did you stop singing with them and start performing solo?
I don't care. More money. No, like everything comes to an end. These men are in their 80s, and they get tired. The show business, as you folks know, you see the glamour, and that's what you should see. That's what we do. We can have terrible things happening in our lives, but we can't show that to you. Our job is to get you to relax, make you feel better, because we're all going through something It's a story. Everybody in there has a story. So we go as the entertainers and we go out that way. And so I don't know. I get very reflective about it, sometimes. Maybe it's because I'm on this cruise and my man ain't, we talked about it, so it's kind of weird. But anyway, and I don't concentrate too good, that good. So
we're all aware.
So there you go.
Oh, come on. I've known the man a long time, if I can't give him some. Judy from the Bronx / Miami Beach. I saw Little Anthony and the Imperials at the Apollo Theater in Harlem, New York.
Oh, boy.
I would guess you were around 17 years old. Just wanted to tell you I love you.
Ain't that nice?
Thank you, my dear.
Nice? That's nice. Apollo Theater.
Donna. Oh, go ahead.
Donna, you got to say that. Now, you see, it goes back to that question, how many people in that, and there's where I cut my teeth in the Apollo Theater. Because when you don't...
That's a tough place.
You got to bring it. You got to bring your game. You better bring your game, yeah.
They'll let you know if you're not.
They will let you know. And so I got to meet some of the greatest, and one of them was Moms Mabley.
Ooh.
Moms was on the show, and so she liked to play checkers, all the time. And I wanted to know her better. And she said, "You play checkers?" I said, "Yeah, I play checkers." And so we sat down and played. And she whooped me about 19 games to nothing. And she looked at me, "You said you played checkers."
She knew a sucker when she saw one. Donna from Sacramento. Oh, this is interesting. Who recorded Going Out of My Head first, Little Anthony or the Letterman?
Me.
Aha.
No, I talked to one of the guys, one of the last of the original cast we were talking about. He said, "Man, I feel bad. We're going to come and do Hurt So Bad You Did That." I said, "You did. Thank you, Val. You did. But it don't matter. Do your thing. Do your thing, because I'm going to have to go out there and I'm going to have to sell it what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So don't worry about it. That's part of what you did. You covered it. They just call covering your song, and they did. Mm-hmm. And then I'm glad for them. They were successful. And it never disrupted me or them. Not at all. No.
Joanne, who comes to us from all over the place based on what this is going to say. Joanne's comes from a few locations. What is your favorite song to perform?
That's pretty good. I got a lot. Of the songs I recorded that were hit records, Hurt So Bad. Yeah. And oftentimes I tell people the greatest collaboration I ever had was with Teddy Randazzo and Don Costa. Don Costa was Frank Sinatra's producer. And I got to really meet some really, 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 really top people through that relationship. And I love that relationship between us because it opened my whole sphere as far as learning what this business was about, how to sing and stuff like that. Even Don Costa told me, "Kid, I work with them all. I work with Tony Bennett, Sinatra, and all of them, and you got something's there." He said, "But I got to teach you. You got to learn how to sing." I'm going, "You tell me how to sing. I know how to sing." Still kidding me. And he said, "No, I didn't mean it that way." Mm-hmm. He said, "I want you to really develop." And he would ask me a lot of stories, and I told him stories. I started out as an actor. A lot of people don't know that. I was a child actor. And he said, "I want you to incorporate those things." And he says, it's like Sinatra, just like George Goldman was doing. Mm-hmm. He says, Sinatra takes the song, the lyric, and he makes the lyric come alive. And you have that ability, and a lot of people don't. Mm. You have to take advantage of that ability. And I want you to, when you go out there, I want you to look at that audience, and you're not singing to them, you're singing with them. Mm. You are entering into their world emotionally. You can maneuver the little triggers in them that bring back wonderful memories or whatever it may bring back. But it's the way you interpret it. So if anybody ever watches me on stage, I'm very animated. Mm-hmm. And I'm not actually just doing this as is automatic. I'm actually deep into the song I'm singing and saying the lyric, trying to get you as an audience to pick up where this is really coming from. Because the writer really wants that more than anything in the world. Mm-hmm. He wants his music to be interpreted that way.
To connect.
Yes. And with Teddy Randazzo and Don Costa. Teddy wrote everything based upon, well, most writers do, his life, but Teddy really wrote about the emotional part of his life. For instance, he had a wife that things went south really bad, and he loved her very much. And he hit me with this song. He says, you know, you're going to be my voice, which Teddy Randazzo had one heck of a voice with chuckles, yeah. And he said, you know, do you understand what I'm saying? This is just how I wrote it. And I said, yeah, I got it. I know what you want. And that song was Outside Looking In. That was the first one that he did. He got put out, I guess. I don't know, by his wife. But it was Outside Looking In. So whenever I thought about it in that part, I go, Heim. The littlest thing like that, they call that the hook.
Yep.
I didn't know, but I was trying to say, this is bad. And it came through, and they picked up on it. So I started developing that more and more and more and more. So if you see me, sometimes you see me like close my eyes, I'm gone. I'm somewhere where the song is. And what I do is when I open my eyes, everybody's going, oh, I did my job.
Yeah.
You caught it. There's a relationship between the artist and the audience. So you picked up on that. My job is to get you to hit that emotional thing in you that says, yeah, I remember that. Whoa.
That's often the difference between the artists that do and
Yes.
don't make it, so to
Yes,
speak, too.
that's what Sinatra was so... Guys would out-sing Sinatra, but they couldn't out-interpret it the way he told the lyric and the story.
Steve comes to us from Texas. This is interesting. When I was at Nellis Air Force Base in 69 to 70, you appeared often at the International Hotel Lounge.
Yep.
You always made a big deal about the fact that you hated Shimmy Shimmy Cocoa Pop.
Sure do.
Do you still feel the same?
Sure do. Song is stupid.
You got to elaborate.
And the guy, Mr. Golder, came, and he says, this guy wrote a song in Brooklyn, something called Shimmy Shimmy Cocoa Pop. And we said, what's a Shimmy Shimmy Cocoa Pop? Well, we don't know. We'll make a dance to it. They actually did something to it. I don't know. And he said, now you got to think, all the guys in my group, we're from the street. We're going, we sing that song?
We're going to get beat up.
We're going to get beat. This is no good. Give me, go back.
You're a pop star now. Yeah.
How do you interpret that? You know, how do you do that? And he did it. We did it. I was just so reluctant. They were too. But then again, that's where you grow as an artist, where you separate your emotional thing, and then you say, okay, doggone it, I'm gonna figure this out. And I said, shimmy, cocoa pop. And I started doing it just to get it out. And he's looking in the booth going, yeah, baby. That's it. You got it down, boy. And I hit something,
Yeah.
And so I'm very honest with the audience. I say, every time we get to that part, I'm going to get through it and get it over with.
Thank you for your honesty.
We did everything, but the orchestra, you know better than the people behind me. I got some wonderful musicians behind me.
Yeah.
The Coda Band, all the
yeah.
guys, Masapola, all of us, man, we're like a family. We know each other for years. And they give me that little, my drummer does it. He gives me that little, and so that helps me to, okay, now we're going to go. And I watch it with you guys in the audience, you be going, yeah. And also, we did a thing many years ago that I don't hardly remember what that year was. It was quite some time ago, back in the 80s, maybe? No, early 90s. We ended up doing a thing for the government, and we had to be cleared by the FBI, the whole bit, because the movers and shakers were all there in Washington, D.C. General Myers, Colin Powell. But I would look out there and going, oh, my gosh, some of these senators. And you know what the most requested song was? Shimmy, Cocoa Pop. And Mr. Powell, he told me, he says, you don't understand that. We were young. Because there was kids 8, 9, 12, 11, 10 bought it. Now they're the movers and the movers and shakers of the world. That's what they wanted to hear. And I did it. I did it.
I did it.
Same thing with Donald Trump. We did it Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
We get a note. You do shimmy shimmy cocoa pop.
No.
Yeah. Who knew?
Yeah, who knew?
Mr. Golden knew.
Yeah, clearly. Debbie comes to us from Arlington. What is next for you after the Malt Shop Memories? Any chance you're coming up to D.C., Baltimore area anytime
You know,
soon?
you want to go everywhere. I just came off one of the most unbelievable tours you can possibly be on, the Happy Together tour. With the Turtles and all of us. We went to 47 states.
That's a fun tour.
We were in Maryland. We were everywhere. I don't forgot. Oh, yeah, we were in D.C. somewhere. I don't know. But, yeah, the business is a little bit different. I would love to come. I would bring some of my grandchildren, give them a little education of the United States of America. You're not getting a lot of that these days. There's an opportunity. If I go there, I can show them what the truth is. Hey, wait, this is how this country really is. And so I would love to. If you know anybody, hey.
Apparently, you can call him directly. You don't even have to call his agent. Before we let you get out of here, a couple of things I wanted to hit on and get your opinion about. First would be, I read a fantastic statistic about you. You were the only artist other than Sinatra to have a #1 hit in 4 decades.
4 decades.
How cool is that?
That's why we talked. I've actually talked to you about that. You notice a lot of times I'll say, I came up as a kid. We would do what everybody else was doing. We call it street music in that day, or under the light posts and somewhere.
Yeah, street corner music. Yeah.
That came in '73, but I think Mr. Gossage, the disc jockey, didn't know how to explain it. So he heard a song, doo wop a doo wop a doo wop a doo wop a doo, and he said, "Well, I guess they call it doo wop."
Doo wop.
Well, what happened? They put everybody in one thing.
One silo.
That's not the way it was. Flamingos. I Only Have Eyes for You is doo-wop. That's one of the greatest standards in the world. See? And I'm going on and that. So what happened was, I was blessed enough that, yes, we crossed over. We were the first to really cross over as a singing group. There were others, but not like we did with Tears in My Pillow, which really married the black music with the so-called white music. That's how silly it was in those days.
Yeah.
And it brought that together. And then we moved on, and then we go to Teddy Randazzo, boom, right through the 60s. Yeah. And then I ended up with Tommy Bell in the 70s.
Last but not least, you've been inducted and are a member of multiple different types of Hall of Fames all across music. But in 2009, Mr. Smokey Robinson himself inducted you into the Rock and Roll
Smoke.
Hall of Fame.
Yes, Smoke. Yeah.
What does that mean to you? What does it mean to you to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
It means everything because that's your peers.
Yeah.
They vote on it. And I mean, I had one instance, my wife is back there, she was with me. We were at the cocktail, whatever they had to go, and I'm looking at Paul McCartney, everybody in the world is there, and this big thing, and my agent, my press agent, George Dasher said, somebody wants to meet you. I said, yeah, okay. I turned around, it was Ron Wood of the Rolling Stones. And he went like this, I am not worthy. I'm not worthy. I'm going,
You're looking behind you for who he's talking to at that point.
Yeah, even in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we never had a Grammy because we started, there were no Grammys.
Yeah, pre-Grammys.
So what happened was we were the first group to ever get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame based upon our body of work.
And well-deserved. And well-deserved. Somebody wants to know how young you are.
39.
Yep. Look at him. Beautiful. I want to say thank you so much, not only for taking your time here with us, obviously, and all your fans, but for just being on this cruise and being just so fantastic every time you're here. You're a huge part of this, and we love you to death.
I got to tell you, you started, I was very young, and Jerry was like Jerry all the time. And so I'm so proud of this guy.
Oh, thank you.
Because he came, he knew exactly what to do, how we talk.
It means the world to me.
And Jerry would be very delighted I guarantee you, very delighted. And he was quite a character, as we know.
Jerry was.
But you were right there, man. You were like this.
How old were you? How old were you when you and Jerry met? That was one of the questions.
Yeah, well, I was about 17, 18.
Yeah, you were just a baby when you met him.
And he was 18.
I was gonna say he was a baby. Yeah.
And I don't know. And we just stayed just friends. We were friends. I mean, we were on the phone, and then my wife will tell you, Jerry called. And there's always a creative. Something he had.
Something going at all times.
Yeah, I got it. Guess what? Yeah. Man, I know you're a guy with different eras. People got to know you're from different eras. He was the first guy to recognize that actually start talking about that. Yeah. He says he's not just out of the early 50s. He's all these different genres. And he said, I'm doing a thing at the Kemble Center.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to have 48 musicians behind you because that's how you record it and that's how you should be heard at all times. Violins, the whole bit. Yeah. I almost cried with this guy. The guy's the only one that did that understood who I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your honesty and for being so fantastic as always. My friends, thanks for coming out. Do me a favor, a huge round of applause for the legend himself, Little Anthony.